Federal agents, step back!
Step back.
We need to secure the premises. Let me see your
My
hands.
hands are visible. Do you have a warrant?
Discuss that inside. I need your ID immediately.
You are inside my home without permission. Show me the warrant.
Ma'am, stop talking and get your ID or we will detain you.
The camera records the moment before sound. A fixed exterior angle captures a residential street at dawn, lights still low, shadows unbroken. The frame does not move. What enters it does. According to the footage, multiple federal agents approach a private home just as morning begins. Their movements are coordinated. The timestamp shows the hour precisely. No emergency lights are visible. No announcement precedes the approach. The door is the focal point. Inside that home is a woman whose professional life has been defined by adherence to procedure. In her work, she has evaluated compliance step by step, followed protocols without deviation, and operated under standards where deviation carries consequence. Her routine has required documentation, verification, and consent. Those actions are part of her record. They are not in dispute. Outside, the agents do not pause to verify occupancy. They do not confirm consent on camera. The first decision is made silently. Entry is attempted without visible presentation of a warrant. From this point, the outcome narrowed. The door opens under pressure. The camera captures the threshold crossing. According to the footage, no warning is audible before entry. No exigency is stated. This decision could not be undone. Inside the frame, the woman appears. She is unarmed. She does not flee. She does not obstruct. She asks questions that remain unanswered on camera. The agents continue forward. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. The irony is structural. In her professional capacity, she has enforced boundaries that require cause before intrusion. She has documented when those boundaries were met and when they were not. She has operated under standards that demand restraint when justification is absent. Those same standards are now absent in the space where she stands. Another decision is made. Identification is requested after entry rather than before. Citizenship status is not verified prior to intrusion. According to later court records, she is a U.S. citizen. That fact was not disputed. From this point, the legal exposure widened. The camera does not editorialize. It records posture, distance, silence. The agents remain inside the home. No immediate threat is visible. No contraband is observed. No arrest is executed in this moment. Yet, the threshold has already been crossed. This decision locked the sequence that followed. The significance of the morning hour is not symbolic. It is evidentiary. Dawn marks the transition from private rest to public accountability. According to official filings later reviewed, the timing would become relevant in assessing reasonableness. What the agents did next was not captured in a single frame, but in cumulative steps. Each step reduced the availability of lawful exit. Each step added weight to the record. The woman's conduct remained unchanged. The record shows no resistance. By the time the camera angle shifts, the legal trajectory is already set. The footage has done its work. The review would come later. The consequence, measured at $6.4 million, would arrive after process, not argument. From the moment of entry, the incident was no longer contained to that doorway. It became a matter of record. The camera remains active as the interior comes into view. According to the footage, the woman stands several feet from the agents, hands visible, posture upright. There is no attempt to flee, no raised voice, no sudden movement. The setting is unmistakably residential. Personal belongings are visible. This is a private dwelling, not a place of public access. From the outset, the legitimacy of her presence is absolute. She is inside her own home. No footage shows unlawful behavior. No emergency is articulated. No immediate threat is identified. The agents proceed without stating probable cause on camera. From this point, the outcome narrowed. One agent asks for identification. The request follows entry, not precedes it. The sequence matters. According to Fourth Amendment standards, the reasonableness of a search or entry is assessed at the moment it occurs, not after. This decision could not be undone. She responds calmly. Her answers are measured. She does not obstruct. She does not consent to a search on camera. The agents remain inside. Another decision is made to continue the encounter without withdrawal. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. In her professional life, she has operated within systems that require verification before action. She has followed checklists where the absence of a prerequisite halts the process. She has documented when consent was given and when it was not. Those actions form part of her work history. The footage does not dispute this. The legitimacy gap begins to widen. The agent's perception, as reflected in their continued presence, diverges from the legal reality captured on camera. No warrant is displayed. No exigent circumstance is articulated. According to later court documents, none was recorded. From this point, the legal exposure widened. Another decision follows. The agents ask questions unrelated to immediate safety. The tone remains controlled. The camera captures no escalation from her. She stands still. The distance between parties remains constant. This decision eliminated a lawful exit. The agents do not retreat to reassess. They do not pause to confirm authorization. The encounter continues forward. Each second inside the home compounds the record. The woman's conduct remains unchanged. The legitimacy gap grows. Citizenship becomes relevant only after the intrusion. According to official filings later reviewed, her status as a U.S. citizen was never in question. That fact existed before the door was opened. It was not verified before entry. This decision could not be undone. The constitutional framework does not require analysis on camera. It requires compliance. The Fourth Amendment protects against unreasonable searches and seizures. Reasonableness is measured by cause, scope, and timing. The footage captures timing. It captures scope. It captures the absence of stated cause. From this point, the outcome narrowed. Another decision is made to remain inside the residence while inquiries continue. The agent's bodies block the exit. The camera records stillness. There is no consent recorded. The legal justification does not appear on screen. This decision locked the sequence that followed. Her authority reversal deepens without being stated. In her work, she has enforced standards where unauthorized entry invalidates subsequent findings. She has followed protocols requiring supervisors to halt operations when thresholds are not met. Those standards are now absent in the space where she stands. The agents proceed as if legitimacy will be established retroactively. Identification is checked after the fact. Questions are asked after the boundary has been crossed. According to the footage, no effort is made to restore the status quo. From this point, the legal exposure widened further. Another decision follows. The encounter is prolonged. Timestamps advance. The absence of resistance remains constant. The absence of threat remains visible. The record grows denser. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. The legitimacy gap is no longer narrow. It is structural. Each action assumes authority that has not been demonstrated on camera. Each pause inside the home reinforces the intrusion. The woman's conduct continues to align with compliance. The agent's conduct continues without visible legal anchor. In her professional evaluations, she has documented when processes drifted from compliance. She has noted when early deviations led to later invalidation. Those observations are part of her expertise. The footage now mirrors those patterns. Another decision is made not to disengage. The agents remain. No arrest is made. No search is completed. Yet the intrusion persists. This decision could not be undone. By the time the agents begin to step back, the record is already complete. The legitimacy gap has fully opened. The camera has captured it without commentary. The constitutional question is no longer hypothetical. It is documented. From this point forward, the encounter moves beyond perception. It enters review. The footage does not end the incident. It transfers it. Once the agents step outside the frame, the authority on scene gives way to institutional process. According to later court filings, the encounter enters a review channel that does not depend on memory or testimony. It depends on record. The camera has already fixed that record. Within the system, actions are not evaluated in isolation. They are assessed against procedure. Entry timing, absence of a warrant, duration inside the residence, and lack of stated exigency become data points. Each is logged. From this point, the outcome narrowed. Supervisory structures exist to identify deviation without assigning motive. The question is not why the agents entered. The question is whether the entry complied with governing standards. The footage answers that without inference. This decision could not be undone. Another institutional decision follows. The incident is not dismissed as discretionary judgment. It is forwarded for internal assessment. According to official records later reviewed, the presence of video elevates the review category. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. The system does not rely on character. It relies on thresholds. Warrantless entry into a private home requires narrowly defined conditions. Those conditions are evaluated against what the camera shows, not what is asserted later. From this point, the legal exposure widened. The woman's role within this process remains unchanged. She does not escalate publicly. She does not engage outside the record. Her actions align with systems she has worked within professionally. Documentation replaces dialogue. Another decision is made within the institution. Legal counsel is engaged. The footage is preserved. Timestamps are verified. The sequence of events is reconstructed frame by frame. This decision eliminated informal resolution. Authority reversal continues without being named. In her professional experience, she has reviewed cases where early procedural missteps rendered later actions indefensible. She has seen how systems respond once documentation replaces narrative. Those dynamics now apply here. The institutional review does not hinge on intent. It hinges on compliance. According to court documents, the absence of a warrant is not cured by later verification. Citizenship status confirmed after entry does not retroactively authorize the entry. From this point, the outcome narrowed further. Another decision follows. The matter is not resolved internally. External legal channels are triggered. Claims are drafted. The footage becomes an exhibit. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. Within the system, escalation is enabled by structure. Each department has reporting obligations. Each obligation generates records. Each record limits discretion. The presence of clear video accelerates this process. This decision could not be undone. The agent's actions are now evaluated not by the moment but by precedent. Prior cases are referenced. Standards applied elsewhere are applied here. The institutional question is whether deviation occurred. The footage provides the answer without commentary. Another decision is made to proceed rather than settle informally. According to later filings, the clarity of the record reduces ambiguity. Ambiguity is where discretion lives. Its absence narrows outcomes. The woman's legitimacy remains intact throughout this phase. No evidence contradicts her lawful presence. No footage shows consent. No document supplies exigency. The gap identified earlier is now codified. Institutional momentum builds without emotion. Timelines extend. Reviews overlap. Each step reinforces the same conclusion. From this point, the legal exposure solidifies. The system does not reverse itself quickly. Once review thresholds are met, process continues until resolution. The camera has already set those thresholds. What remains is sequence. By the time formal proceedings advance, the incident is no longer about the entry alone. It is about how systems respond when documentation removes discretion. The authority once exercised at the door has fully transferred to record. The escalation does not arrive as a single action. It arrives as the absence of alternatives. According to the record, once institutional review begins, the range of lawful exits contracts. Early decisions, entry timing, lack of a visible warrant, duration inside the residence, are no longer mutable. They are fixed. From this point, the outcome narrowed. The escalation becomes sequential. Each procedural step confirms the last. The agent's actions are mapped against constitutional thresholds that do not bend with context. Warrantless entry into a private home requires conditions that must exist before the door is crossed. The footage places the crossing first. This decision could not be undone. Another decision follows within the review chain. Statements are compared to video. Where discrepancies appear, the video controls. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. As scrutiny deepens, lawful exits disappear. Internal explanations do not negate recorded absence of exigency. Later verification of identity does not retroactively authorize intrusion. The constitutional analysis remains anchored to the moment of entry. From this point, the legal exposure narrowed into a single track. The collapse is not dramatic, it is methodical. Supervisory review confirms that thresholds were exceeded. Legal counsel confirms that justification cannot be reconstructed after the fact. The system advances without pause. This decision eliminated negotiated closure. Authority on scene has fully dissolved. Authority now belongs to process. In prior evaluations she has conducted professionally, she has seen how systems behave when documentation is unambiguous. The same pattern repeats here. Another decision is made to allow the matter to proceed through formal litigation rather than internal resolution. According to later filings, the presence of clear footage reduces uncertainty. Reduced uncertainty increases risk. From this point, the outcome narrowed again. As the case advances, escalation becomes cumulative. Each filing references the same frames. Each review returns to the same seconds of footage. The narrative does not expand. It compresses. Legal thresholds are crossed in sequence. Entry without warrant, continued presence without consent, prolonged encounter absent exigency. Each step is evaluated independently. Each fails independently. Together, they collapse the defense posture. This decision could not be undone. The system now moves toward inevitability. Exposure is quantified. Potential outcomes are modeled. The record does not support mitigation through explanation. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. The silence that emerges is not absence of sound. It is absence of authority. In the footage replayed during review, there is a moment where movement slows. The woman stands still. The agent stops speaking. No commands are issued. No justification is offered. The camera continues to record. Time advances without action. No analysis is spoken. No explanation is given. Bodies remain in place. Hands are visible. Distance does not change. The room is still. The silence replaces authority. When motion resumes, it does not restore control. It confirms loss of it. The review resumes with that silence intact. The system recognizes it as evidence. Another decision follows. Settlement discussions are deferred. The exposure is deemed too clear. According to official filings later reviewed, proceeding becomes the only viable path. From this point, the outcome narrowed to resolution. The collapse completes itself without confrontation. No single actor causes it. It emerges from accumulated decisions that closed every lawful exit. The record now governs. By the end of this phase, nothing remains to reinterpret. The footage has fixed the facts. The reviews have fixed the analysis. What remains is consequence. Control shifts fully from the scene to the record. According to court documents later reviewed, the footage becomes the primary authority, not testimony, not recollection. The camera establishes sequence, timing, and absence. Each frame is cataloged, each second is fixed. From this point, the outcome narrowed. The review process compresses time. What unfolded over minutes at dawn is replayed in hours of analysis. Entry is examined first. The moment the threshold is crossed is isolated. No warrant is visible. No announcement precedes entry. This decision could not be undone. Next, duration is assessed. The agents remain inside the residence after initial contact. The footage shows no consent granted. No exigent circumstance appears. The continued presence compounds the intrusion. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. Reviewers return repeatedly to posture and distance. The woman's hands remain visible. Her position remains static. There is no attempt to interfere. No safety threat emerges on camera. These observations are not interpretive. They are recorded. Another review decision follows. Audio is transcribed. The absence of justification is noted. Requests for identification occur after entry. Citizenship status is confirmed later. According to filings, post-entry verification does not cure pre-entry violation. From this point, the legal exposure widens into certainty. The footage is then placed against precedent. Similar cases are referenced where warrantless entry invalidated subsequent actions, regardless of outcome. The comparison is functional, not moral. Thresholds are either met or they are not. This decision eliminated discretionary framing. Authority reversal completes itself in this phase. In her professional capacity, she has evaluated records where process failure alone determined outcome. She has seen how documentation overrides narrative. That same mechanism now governs the review of her own case. Another decision follows. Independent analysis confirms internal findings. The footage withstands scrutiny without supplementation. No additional evidence is required to establish the sequence. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. The review accelerates, drafts circulate, exposure estimates are refined, timestamps anchor liability. The early morning timing is noted again. According to filings, intrusion during rest hours carries heightened scrutiny. From this point, the outcome narrows toward resolution. Settlement options are evaluated against the strength of the record. The footage limits negotiation leverage. Ambiguity has already been removed. Each replay reinforces the same conclusion. This decision could not be undone. The record now speaks without amplification. Silence in the footage becomes decisive. The absence of commands. The absence of threat. The absence of justification. Each absence is evidentiary. As the review concludes, authority no longer resides with any individual. It resides with the sequence the camera captured. The system recognizes that sequence as complete. The matter moves forward, not because of escalation at the scene, but because review confirms that escalation occurred without legal foundation. The footage has transferred power permanently. From this point onward, the outcome is determined by consequence, not interpretation. The legal outcome unfolds without surprise. It unfolds because the record leaves no alternative. According to court documents later reviewed, once the evidentiary phase concludes, the scope of dispute contracts sharply. The sequence of events is no longer contested. Entry without a warrant, continued presence without consent, absence of exigent circumstance. Each element is established by footage. From this point, the outcome narrowed to remedy. The transition from review to consequence is procedural. Filings reference timestamps rather than testimony. The early morning entry is cited. The lack of announcement is cited. The duration inside the residence is cited. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. Another decision follows within the legal process. Liability is assessed independent of intent. The standard applied is reasonableness, not motivation. According to the record, reasonableness is evaluated at the moment of entry. Post-entry verification of citizenship status does not alter that analysis. This decision could not be undone. The matter advances toward resolution. Negotiation occurs within defined limits set by the strength of the footage. Exposure estimates are refined. According to official filings, the clarity of the record reduces uncertainty in outcome. Reduced uncertainty increases finality. Authority reversal reaches its endpoint here. In her professional work, she has observed cases where procedural violations alone dictated result, regardless of downstream conduct. She has evaluated settlements driven entirely by record strength. The same mechanism now governs her case. Another legal decision follows. The case does not proceed to prolonged trial. According to filings, resolution is reached through settlement. The figure, $6.4 million, is documented. The amount reflects cumulative exposure rather than punitive intent. From this point, the outcome is irreversible. The settlement is structured. Timeframes are specified. Payment schedules are defined. No admission of wrongdoing is required. The record stands on its own. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. The legal consequence does not end with compensation alone. The settlement closes the dispute permanently. Claims arising from the entry are resolved. The footage remains part of the public record. The sequence cannot be erased. Another decision follows in the aftermath. Legal costs are allocated. Oversight bodies review the incident independently of settlement terms. According to official records, the resolution does not negate the documented violation. It concludes the case. The system recognizes closure when process completes. The $6.4 million figure is not symbolic. It is numeric finality. It marks the point at which review converts to consequence. No further escalation is available. Appeals are not pursued. The record does not support reversal. The outcome has moved beyond discretion into completion. The authority once exercised at the doorway has fully dissolved. Authority now resides with the settlement document and the footage it references. The matter is closed as a legal dispute. What remains is not argument, it is effect. The incident does not conclude with payment alone. It alters systems. According to official records, once the settlement is finalized, the footage continues to circulate within oversight channels. Training divisions review it. Legal units catalog it. The purpose is not attribution, it is prevention. From this point, the outcome extends beyond the parties. Policy frameworks respond to documented deviation. Entry protocols are reissued. Warrant verification procedures are reiterated. Supervisory checkpoints are emphasized at the earliest stage of contact. These changes do not rely on interpretation. They rely on what the camera captured. Another institutional decision follows. Instructional materials are updated to reflect timing sensitivity. Early morning entries receive heightened scrutiny. Thresholds are restated in operational language. The footage becomes an example without commentary. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. The authority shift is complete. On-scene discretion no longer frames the narrative. Recorded sequence does. Training emphasizes that justification must exist before action, not be assembled afterward. The record demonstrates the cost of reversal. This decision could not be undone. Oversight mechanisms register closure. Reporting requirements are satisfied. Settlement terms are executed. According to filings, the resolution carries no admission of wrongdoing. That absence does not alter the instructional value of the footage. The system proceeds regardless. Another decision follows within institutional memory. The case is indexed by category: warrantless entry, private residence, absence of exigency. It is referenced alongside prior cases with similar thresholds. The purpose is consistency. From this point, the outcome informs future review. The woman's role in the aftermath remains unchanged. She does not become an advocate within the record. She becomes a reference point. The footage and filings speak in her place. The system does not require testimony to learn. The finality is administrative. Files are closed. Payments are completed. Oversight notes are archived. The incident transitions from dispute to precedent. What followed was procedural, not discretionary. Cold clarity replaces narrative. The camera made the sequence undeniable. The review confirmed it. The settlement concluded it. Systems adjust because documentation removed ambiguity. No further action is required to preserve the lesson. It is preserved by record. The authority once exercised in motion is now exercised by policy. The aftermath is not emotional, it is durable. Procedures change because the footage fixed the facts. The system recognizes permanence when sequence is documented. The case ends as it began, without commentary. The camera recorded, the record governed, the system responded.